Right now, you're sitting in a boardroom finalizing an enterprise AI hardware strategy. You just approved a massive capital expenditure to upgrade your cloud servers, purchase the latest NVIDIA GPUs, and migrate your data infrastructure. You believe you have successfully positioned your company for the next decade of artificial intelligence? You are operating under a catastrophic multi-billion-dollar illusion. The enterprise AI strategy you just finalized is already a relic of the past. The succession of Jeff Williams, not just succeeding Tim Cook, but fundamentally altering the physics of the Apple's architecture, is deploying a silicon first infrastructure that turns every existing centralized AI server into a $50,000 paperweight. If you do not violently pivot your hardware roadmap today, Apple's new edge computing grid will leave your firm stranded with billions obsolete, untradeable investment. While the consumer world watches mindlessly for a new iPhone, Apple's secret weapon is transforming the global supply chain into a massive proprietary neural engine grid. Jeff Williams is leveraging his absolute operational mastery to move artificial intelligence from vulnerable, expensive cloud to a dominant edge network that you mathematically cannot compete with. This blueprint renders current enterprise hardware entirely redundant, forcing an immediate and total liquidation of your current tech stack. Everything you thought you knew about the future of AI hardware just changed. Williams' transition to leadership marks a radical, irreversible shift from a consumer gadgets to a global infrastructure play. Apple is turning their sovereign silicon advantage into a world dominating edge grid, and your current investment are standing directly in the path of this total market takeover. Before I completely deconstruct the death of the cloud, expose the precise thermodynamics of Apple's new edge computing matrix, and give you the exact architecture blueprint to extract your capital from obsolete servers and pivot to the new frontier of the corporate AI, hit the subscribe button and press the notification bell. I post daily videos showing you exactly how to navigate the global labor and capital market using cold, hard engineering logic. You do not want to miss these execution protocol. Stop buying servers, start understanding the grid. Grab a notebook, it is time to audit your obsolescence. Welcome back, I'm Dr. HR. To understand why my approach to the corporate strategy, global supply chains, and artificial intelligence is aggressively different from a superficial tech reviews on YouTube, you must understand my underlying structural logic. I hold a PhD in human resources, a master's from prestigious Tata Institute of Social Sciences TISS in Mumbai, and a bachelor's in computer engineering. I do not look technology company as a manufacturer of toys. I look at it as a sovereign geopolitical entity. Operating on the ground here in Dubai since 2010, consulting for tier 1 corporate entities, sovereign wealth funds, and apex executive, I have monitored exactly how global dominance is achieved. It is not achieved by building a slightly better chatbot. It is achieved by monopolizing the underlying physical infrastructure of the human computation. Let us systematically deconstruct this massive enterprise threat through 5 distinct phases: the centralized cloud trap, the Jeff Williams pivot, the physics of the edge grid, the obsolescence event, and the sovereign hardware strategy. Phase 1, the centralized cloud trap, the urgent warning. We must first diagnose the exact debilitating vulnerability of a strategy your Chief Information Officer CIO just handed you. For the last 3 years, the entire corporate world has been caught in a massive, panicked arm race to build AI capability. The default strategy, the lazy, high-risk strategy, was to rely on a centralized cloud. When a company wants to deploy a large language model LLM or a complex generative AI agent, they do not run it locally. They rent compute power. They send their proprietary, highly sensitive corporate data across the internet to massive centralized server farm owned by Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, or Google Cloud. The server processes the data, calculate the output, and send the answer back. This model is a massive multi-layer trap for the modern enterprise. 1. The latency tax. You're operating with a massive communication friction. Every query must travel hundreds of miles, creating a latency delay that makes high-speed autonomous agentic workflow mathematically impossible. 2. The privacy vulnerability. You are outsourcing your most valuable asset, your corporate data, to a third-party server. In an era of aggressive industrial espionage and cyber warfare, transmitting unencrypted strategic data to a public cloud is a corporate suicide. 3. The compute cost. The price of renting cloud GPU is astronomically and highly volatile. You're paying a continuous bleeding tax to Microsoft simply to use your own data. Most companies believe they have to accept this trap because the hardware required to run advanced AI is too massive, too hot, and too expensive to put on every employee desk. This is where Apple changes the laws of physics. If you just spent $10 million upgrading your internal network to interface faster with AWS, you just threw that capital into a furnace. You bought a faster horse right as the Model T rolled off the assembly line. The centralized cloud era is ending, and the Apple is the architect of its demise. Phase 2. The Jeff Williams pivot, the supply chain intrigue. To understand the weapon, you must understand the operator. The transition of a leadership at Apple is not a cosmetic change. It is a structural realignment of the global power. We must analyze the Jeff Williams pivot. Jeff Williams is not a visionary designer like Johnny Ive, and he is not a marketing genius. He is the ultimate apex supply chain architect. He is the operator who built the logistics network that allowed Apple to manufacture hundreds and millions of devices with microscopic tolerances and perfect global distribution. When you place a supply chain master at the top of a pyramid, the companies stop prioritizing consumer aesthetic and start prioritizing infrastructure dominance. The market assumes Apple is focused on making the iPhone thinner or the screen brighter. The apex executive understands that the iPhone is no longer a consumer product. It is a Trojan horse. William is leveraging its operational mastery to deploy a proprietary silicon advantage, the M series and the A series neural engines. For the last 5 years, Apple has been quietly, relentlessly optimizing their chips, not just for speed, but for absolute industry-crushing power efficiency. They have built processors capable of executing massive, complex neural net calculations without requiring a cooling tower or a massive power supply. Apple does not need to build a massive centralized server farm like Microsoft because they have already built the largest distributed compute grid on the planet. They have placed over 2 billion active devices directly into the hands of the global population. That is a supply chain intrigue. William is not building a new server, he's transforming the existing global network of iPhones, iPad, and MacBook into a unified massive neural engine grid. He's turning consumer hardware into enterprise infrastructure. Phase 3. The physics of the edge grid, the industry disruptor. Let us translate this into the cold, hard physics of an enterprise AI. We must decode the edge grid. Edge computing means processing data locally, right at the source, rather than sending it to a distant, centralized server. The edge is the device sitting on your desk or in your pocket. Until now, edge computing was a fantasy for an advanced AI because the standard corporate laptops and mobile phones lacked the neural processing power and thermal capacity to run an LLM locally. They would melt or the battery would die in 10 minutes. Apple's proprietary silicon, the M4 chips and beyond fundamentally rewrite this constraint. They have integrated massive dedicated neural engines directly onto the logic board, sharing a unified memory architecture with the CPU and the GPU. When an enterprise deploys an AI agentic workflow in the 2026 Apple ecosystem, the logic works entirely differently than the Microsoft model. If your chief financial officer asks an AI to analyze 10 years of highly sensitive proprietary financial data to predict Q4 revenue, the query does not go to the cloud, the query never leaves the building, the query never even leaves the laptop. The localized M-series neural engine processes the data instantly on the edge. This creates a triple threat operational advantage that destroys current enterprise hardware. 1. Zero latency, the processing is instantaneous. The data does not travel. Autonomous agent can operate at the speed of light entirely decoupled from internet bandwidth. 2. Absolute cryptographic privacy. Your data never touches a public server. It is processed in a secure enclave on the local device. This is the ultimate privacy as a service mode. For industries like finance, healthcare, and defense, this is non-negotiable. 3. Zero compute tax. You are no longer paying a monthly subscription to AWS for server time. You bought the hardware once and the processing is free. Everything you thought you knew about the future of AI hardware just changed. Apple is turning their silicon advantage into a world-dominating edge grid. If your competitor is running their AI locally with zero latency and absolute privacy, and you are still routing your data through an expensive, vulnerable public cloud, you are mathematically uncompetitive. Phase 4, the obsolescence event, the hardware purge. This brings us to the brutal, unforgiving reality of your current balance sheet. We are entering the obsolescence event. If your enterprise IT department just deployed thousands of standard window based PCs, thin client, or Chromebooks across your organization, relying entirely on cloud based AI tools like Microsoft Copilot via web, those devices are instantly obsolete. They are terminal endpoint. They are dumb terminal that require an umbilical cord to a server farm to possess any intelligence. When the market realizes the power of the Apple Edge Grid, there will be a violent paradigm shift in enterprise procurement. Corporations will stop buying access to centralized intelligence and start buying localized neural engines. The hardware you just purchased is standing directly in the path of this total market takeover. If you are a chief technology officer, CTO, or a CEO, you must immediately audit your hardware roadmap. Are your devices capable of running a multi-billion parameter LLM locally? Do your devices have dedicated neural processing unit integrated with a unified memory? Is your operational security model reliant on the cloud, or is it anchored at the edge? If the answer to these questions is no, you are sitting on a billions of dollars in obsolete investment. You are purchasing typewriter in the age of a word processor. You have purchased analog routers in a digital world. The obsolescence event does not happen slowly. It happens the moment an apex competitor proves they can execute complex AI tasks 400% faster and 100% more secure because they migrated to Apple Edge architecture. When that happens, your board of directors will not care about the 5-year depreciation schedule of your Dell laptops. They will demand an immediate and total liquidation of your current tech stack. Phase 5, the sovereign hardware strategy execution. We have diagnosed the centralized trap. We have analyzed the Jeff Williams supply chain pivot. We have defined the physics of the edge grid. And we have established the obsolescence timeline. Now you must execute the extraction. You must deploy the sovereign hardware strategy. An Apex executive does not wait for their competitor to destroy them. They preempt the destruction. You must fundamentally rewrite your enterprise procurement logic immediately. Step 1, the liquidation pivot. Halt all current purchase orders for traditional cloud-dependent enterprise hardware. If you are logged into a massive AWS or Azure contract that scales with your AI uses, you must aggressively renegotiate those terms, capping your exposure to future compute cost. You must transition your capital expenditure CapEx from renting server space to owning edge processing power. Step 2, the edge migration. You must transition your high leverage operators, your data scientists, your financial architects, and your legal compliance team exclusively onto hardware equipped with massive localized neural engine. In the 2026 landscape, this means the high-end M-series Apple silicon. You're not buying a laptop, you're buying a sovereign portable AI server. Step 3, localized agentic frameworks. Once the hardware is deployed, you must change your software architecture. Stop building web-based AI tools. Begin deploying smaller, highly optimized proprietary LLMs directly onto the edge devices. You train a 7 billion parameter model on your specific corporate data and you deploy it locally to your finance team. Step 4, the sovereign broadcast. When you successfully execute this transition, you do not keep it a secret. You weaponize it as your ultimate corporate mode. You step into your acoustic-treated digital studio. You fire up your Elite Cine Gear, your Sony FX series camera with a razor-sharp cinematic lighting. You import your structural architecture models into DaVinci Resolve 20, editing the high-fidelity data stream flawlessly. You record a highly structured, unsentimental video essay. You look directly into the lens and you inform the global market, your investors, and your competitor that your enterprise has completely decoupled from the vulnerable centralized cloud. You announce that your firm operates exclusively on an impenetrable zero latency edge computing grid. You guarantees absolute cryptographic privacy for your client's data because the data never leaves your proprietary hardware. When a sovereign wealth fund or a tier 1 enterprise client watches that broadcast, they instantly recognize your absolute operational dominance. They will pull their contracts from your cloud-dependent competitors and hand them to you because you have mathematically proven that your architecture cannot be hacked. intercepted, or slowed down by an internet outage. Look closely at the server racks and the laptops sitting in your office today. Are they tools of sovereign power, or are they expensive, vulnerable terminals tethered to a public utility? The era of renting intelligence is over. The era of owning the neural edge has arrived. Jeff Williams is not launching a new phone, he is launching a global infrastructure grid that renders traditional enterprise IT completely irrelevant. Stop funding the obsolete cloud. Audit your hardware. Liquidate the dumb terminals. Secure the edge grid. And transform your corporate infrastructure into an unshakable sovereign fortress. Process the data, execute the strategy, and I'll see you at the top.